There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
The note that this man is carrying across a clubroom is in the form of a proposed wager. But it's the kind of wager that comes without precedent. It stands alone in the annals of bet-making as the strangest game of chance ever offered by one man to another. In just a moment, we'll see the terms of the wager and what young Mr. Tennyson does about it. And in the process, we'll witness all parties spin a wheel of chance in a very bizarre casino called the Twilight Zone.
Hello? Are we on, Jimbo? Oh, he's in the silence. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is a Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone edition. And apparently, Jimbo is sworn to silence. He refuses to do the opening. So I'm 80Z, and this is the Twilight Zone season number 2, episode 25. Jimbo, you can jump in?
Oh, you ready? Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to throw everybody a little swerve there because this is the episode, The Silence. It is a very different episode than what we experienced just last week when we covered the Rip Van Winkle caper.
Yeah.
This is a very, very good Twilight Zone twist. You can't help but feel sorry for this guy. But Eric, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What? Did you ever... Okay, first of all, did you ever have one of those friends that made a bet, but like, bet you can't be silent for like 2 hours or whatever? Or, you know, did you ever get the silent treatment from somebody?
All the time.
I mean, for those of us that have been married a while, yeah, I mean, silence is golden, right? But what's the longest you've ever lasted?
It's funny. I was going to ask you the same question. I wrote down the same question. I think as a kid, I vividly remember like challenging myself. It wasn't a bet or anything. I've told the story before to my kids too. Like, I want to say I made it almost an entire day without speaking a word. I just wanted to like challenge myself to see if I could do it. And yeah, I think,
was it hard?
Not really for me at the time because I'm sort of introverted by nature anyway, and I was younger, and, you know, you just get up, you go through the motions, you get up, eat breakfast, go to school.
Did you do it at school?
Yeah, like, I think I made it, I want to say I made it, like, almost the entire day with that, until someone at the end of the day was like, hey, man, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you talking? Or something like that. But I have that memory of me, like, thinking that to myself and challenging myself. What about you? Have you ever tried to do it or made a bet or gone?
No, Eric, I don't do stupid bets.
Wow.
No, I just, I think I have the gift of gab. I don't think I could do it. I mean, now, you know, let's be real. There have been times when maybe your spouse, I won't name any names, but maybe your spouse and maybe this other person.
She's better at the silent treatment than you.
Oh, man. I mean, I'm just saying in the fifth dimension, let's say, if you have a spouse and a husband, and the husband is right, but the spouse refuses to agree that the husband is right.
Oh boy!
But you know that's just a hearsay from the fifth dimension.
We'll start a relationship podcast to cover all of these issues.
Two single guys.
Yeah, you might end up. It might be two single guys after this episode.
Why are you bringing me into this? I just said hypothetically there was a husband and his mother, but no. But I will say this, just from experience that. women are a lot better at it than men. I will say that hands down. They get a grudge. They hold on to it for a long time, and they want to make sure you do not forget. And any time in the future that you did forget, they are quick to remind you what happened the last time you were wrong.
The Rolodex, they can bring it back up pretty quick, for sure. All right, we better move past this. The Silence. This is the Twilight Zone, season number 2, episode number 25. It was directed by Boris, I think it's Sagal, or Sagal. And this one, again, was written by Rod Serling. This looks like it has an original air date of April the 28th, 1961, which you know what time it is. That's right. It's our favorite segment called On This Day in History. On this day in film and TV history for April the 28th. Let's go all the way back to 1937, and we have our first animated cartoon electric sign displayed in NYC. So I'm not exactly sure what an animated cartoon electric sign looks like. Maybe it just has animation on the sign. Anyway, 1937, that's going way back. Let's move ahead a couple of decades to 1975. On this day in TV history, John Lennon is a guest on Tom Snyder's Tomorrow program in what turns out to be his final television interview. Now, I thought about that for a second. John Lennon was murdered in 1980, I believe, December of 1980. So he went 5 whole years where he was not even on TV. I thought that was a long time. That kind of struck me as like, wow, that's a long time from 75 to 80. If that was his last television interview. Well,
I think by then the Beatles have broken up anyway.
Yeah,
so maybe...
and he kind of did his own thing, and he probably was more of a recluse in his later years anyway. I just thought that was interesting. So let's move ahead about 11 years. In 1986, and television, the Soviet TV news program, I'm going to probably mispronounce this, but it's spelled Vremya. Vremya announces a nuclear accident at Chernobyl nuclear power plant station 2 days after the actual event. So the news broke 2 days after the actual. Have you seen that? HBO?
The Chernobyl Diaries?
That was really good. I thought it was pretty good.
Sad.
Yeah, very.
On that note, do you know that you can take tours over there?
Can you really? It's safe now enough to go over there?
No, you
got to put on a whole suit and everything?
Yeah. You want to road trip?
No, thanks. I'll pass on that one.
Would you do it, though?
Would I go to Chernobyl?
Would you? If
full hazmat suits?
Yeah, if you were...
After seeing that documentary? No.
I think it would be... I don't want to say cool, because that makes me sound twisted. But I mean, just to see how things are still there. You know what I mean? Like the houses, the Ferris wheel or whatever. You see that in Disney Park. And I guess
that would be interesting.
I guess like the wild animals are all taken over and all that,
Yeah.
So I think it would be... I guess that part would be cool for history, but I don't want to get cancer or anything just from the radiation just because I went over there. You know what I mean? So,
for real.
But hey, that can happen. The radiation. We probably have more radiation in this room with all the electronics than what's in Chernobyl. That makes me...
Thanks. Maybe we should put our hazmat suits on, too.
Put my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah. So, let's skip several decades ahead to 2019 and Disney's Marvel film Avengers Endgame made an estimated... All right, you don't like that?
I'm a DC guy, remember?
Well, it made an estimated $1.2 billion worldwide, and it was the first film to make more than $1 billion on its opening. So,
yeah, but it took them 20 years to accumulate that from all the shows they did, right?
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't a real big fan of. Anyway, I know everybody. I'd be getting a lot of hate mail if I said I really wasn't big on Marvel and all that stuff because it's everybody's favorite. Back to TV. That was the Disney movie. They were sponsors for the movie. But 2019, let's go to TV. Let's talk about Game of Thrones. The Long Night episode debuts with the longest battle scene ever screened at 80 minutes. So Game of Thrones claims the top longest battle scene of nearly 80 minutes, and it surpassed the Lord of the Rings Battle of the Helm Deep, which their battle scene was 44 minutes.
Oh, that's a good one though.
Yeah, almost double the length of the battle scene in the TV series Game of Thrones. So that concludes our segment known as On This Day in TV and Film History. Back to our episode. let me go ahead and read a plot. Let me put things in order, and then Jimbo can give us the cast. The plot for this episode, entitled The Silence, Jamie Tennyson is an overly talkative member of a private men's club. He is challenged by a fellow member, Colonel Archie Taylor, to keep his mouth shut for 1 year. Should he do so, he would win $500,000. Taylor dislikes Tennyson, and if nothing else, finds this as a way to get a bit of peace and quiet at the club. Tennyson will live in a room in the club under observation and will communicate in writing only. As the months go by, Taylor begins to worry that Tennyson may just succeed. He can't believe Tennyson will, but neither party proves to be completely honorable. So, Jimbo, that's our plot.
Sure.
Tell us about the cast members.
Well, I'm going to butcher Colonel Archie Taylor's name because I don't know if it's French.
I didn't know how to pronounce it either.
So yeah, thanks a lot. So it's Franchot-Tone or Franco-Tone or whatever you want to say. Yeah. But I mean, he did get a star on the Walk of Fame in 1960. I did find that out. But he was in the movie Dangerous from 1935. He was in Mutiny on the Bounty in 1936. He was an Oscar nominee for a Best Actor in a I can't read my handwriting. Best Actor in something. A Grammy Hove Dove. Sorry, Francho, but he was an Oscar nominee. Then you had Liam Sullivan, who played Jamie Tennyson, who I think did an outstanding job in this. So did Archie. But he was in Star Trek in 1966. And he was also in this movie called The Magic Sword, if you've ever seen The Magic Sword. And then we have somebody that's no stranger to the Twilight Zone, Cyril Delevanti. He played Franklin, who's basically like the butler.
Yeah, penny for your thoughts.
Yep, he was a Golden Globe nominee in 1965 for the Best Supporting Actor for The Night of the Iguana. He was in Soylent Green in 1973. He was in The Invisible Man's Revenge. He was in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Eric, the great Disney movie with Angela Lansbury.
Haven't seen it.
But he was...
Haven't seen it.
Wow. He was in 4 Twilight Zone episodes. Penny for Your Thoughts, as Eric said, Season 2, Episode 16, which we just saw earlier a few episodes ago. He's also in Season 3, Episode 22, Piano in the House. He's also in Season 4, Episode 17, A Passage for the Lady Anne, as well as this episode, The Silence, Season 2, Episode 25. Now, there is a bunch of club members. I'm not going to go through all of them.
Yeah, there's a big cast.
I'm just going to hit these first few, and then I have one on the other page. He had Everett Glass. He was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 1956. Felix Lochet. He was in Star Trek 1966, where he played Mr. Johnson. He was in The Munsters for an episode. I Dream of Jeannie. He's been in a lot of stuff. John Holland, also he was in Chinatown in 1974, as well as My Fair Lady. Jonathan Harris, I wanted to make sure I brought him up because he plays George Alfred. He was in Lost in Space, where he played Dr. Zachary Smith. He was in A Bug's Life, where he played Manny, and he was in Toy Story 2, where he played the cleaner. He was also in a Twilight Zone episode from earlier this season, Season 2, Episode 17, in 22. He was in that episode. Do you remember that episode, Eric?
I remember the episode 22, but I don't.
What was the episode 22 about?
It was about the hospital stay for the call girl.
Yep. Yeah. Where he played the doctor or whatever. So.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we had the last one I'll do. There's like 30 more people, but Oliver Cross, he was in The Foolish Virgin in 1924. But he was also in one of my dad's favorite movies, Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, where he was a party guest. He was also in another Twilight Zone episode, Season 3, Episode 36, Cavender is Country. So there is that. So, of course, we have Rod Serling. No introduction needed. So, Eric, kicking it back to you.
Yes, sir. So, the opening scene for this episode is a men's club. We're like in a lobby where there's a big fireplace and stuff. It's kind of setting the scene. And one of the main characters, well, he is the main character, Tennyson, is rambling on and he's telling a story about this wild investment opportunity that he has. And he's bragging, and he's talking about this guy coming to him and and basically wanting to give him money to invest in something that,
I like how you see the one guy asleep in the chair with the newspaper. I was like,
oh yeah, I see him.
That would be
Wait
me.
a minute, is this the guy? There was one guy that the
see back there.
Yeah, the trivia said that he died.
Oh, while he was on the
no, like a couple days after this rap.
Oh, really?
For filming.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I'd have to dig that up. So Tennyson is just telling this wild investment opportunity story, and then Archie, our co-main character, I guess, if you will, he's fed up with Tennyson and his bull, and there's several tight shots of Archie's ear and Tennyson's mouth,
and I think that's really well done.
Yeah, that's a
really
great
well done
cinematography shot of those close-ups, and Tennyson he's fed up with his bull, and I'm quoting here. He says, "The only thing worse than talking so much is his transparency. In about 30 seconds, Alfred, he's speaking to his lawyer, Alfred is standing with him. He says, he will very nonchalantly ask for a loan from anybody within earshot."
Yep.
So, Colonel Archie Taylor, he can't stand this Tennyson guy, and that becomes very apparent right at the beginning of the episode. And very shortly after that, we have Rod's introduction, which the camera pans to him standing behind like a leather chair, and he delivers his. Archie and his lawyer, Alfred, are having this exchange, and really you come to find out that Archie wants Alfred to draft up probably some sort of legal paperwork for this bet that he's about to present.
Well, he asked him, he said, it's not legal, but, it's not against the law either. It's like one of those gray areas.
So, that sort of gets unpacked as well. First thing, we realize that he hates Tennyson, and then he's made use of his lawyer, Alfred, to draft this bet, and then he basically hands the paperwork to, who's the... Franklin, is that the guy?
Yeah.
The butler / aide's
Franklin.
name. And, Rod gives his introduction, and then the story picks back up, and Franklin hands this piece of paper to Tennyson, and the wager is presented to him, and he's written this most interesting proposal to Tennyson, and Colonel Taylor's instructions are he wants him to read it immediately as he's delivered to Tennyson. And then after he reads it, Tennyson says, "Man, this is nonsense. Like, what is this?" And then, so Colonel Taylor is the one that actually reveals the conditions after a back and forth of the wager. Like, they talk back and forth. And then, Colonel Taylor says he's going to bet Tennyson that he can't be silent for an entire year. And if he can, he will receive $500,000. And then goes on to give these scathing words. And I have the quotation if you want me to read it, unless you have anything to interject in this.
I just want to point out something real quick.
Yep.
He's asking for $250,000 and explaining how he could double or even quadruple it to these fellow club members.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you. We have found out that he has ran through his inheritance.
Yeah.
That is something you find out. And so he's probably got high debt. Number one, does he have a gambling problem?
I don't know. It makes
First
it
and
seem
foremost.
like as further we go along in the episode that he has a wife who has very extravagant spending habits.
Well, if that's the case, number two, how did he get into this elite club then? Because it's a lot of people that seem rich, we'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
is it as elite as
they would
one
have
would think?
to probably, I don't know what the parameters, it doesn't really unpack it in the episode.
Right.
Know,
And then also, what kind of job do you think that he has? I don't think it says, does it?
Stockbroker or some kind of investment firm
You think that's what
in
you would say?
finance. Maybe, I guess that would be my best guess, yeah.
But yeah, they he says, I'll give you $500,000 to remain silent for a year. Yeah. Obviously, this guy's already asking for $250,000.
Yeah,
So
in loans or
so this
investment
is,
money.
But for a whole year? You barely made it through a day, you said.
Yeah.
It'd be hard. But he's like, fine, I'll accept, but I want this in writing. You have to furnish this to me in writing.
Yeah, and then he goes on. This is a key part, too, because when they actually come to the agreement, well, let me back up and let me give the quote, because we're jumping ahead in the episode, but this is how much disdain that Archie has for Tennyson. Listen to how scathing this is. It says, what I'm about to say might horrify the average person, but to someone as insensitive as you, it probably won't mean a thing. I dislike you intensely, Tennyson. It goes much beyond the ordinary distaste I feel for someone without breeding, without principles, without manners. Your voice has become intolerable. I sit here each night, and the sound of it makes me wince. I cannot ask you to resign from the club. I haven't got that right. So it occurred to me that I'd be willing to offer a large sum of money just to have some quiet. You see, Tennyson, you could not possibly remain silent for a year. It's not in your nature. You're a shallow, talkative, empty-headed, ne'er to do well, and to remain silent would destroy you. Man, he just rips that guy to shreds.
And man, let's face it, we've all had that one person in our life that just...
Yeah.
Anything you talk about, they have a story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. And It's just, man, can you just shut up for 1 minute?
But man, I mean, just scathing words. So then Tennyson, after all of that, he decides to accept the Colonel's offer. And then coming back around to where we were headed, Jimbo, a second ago, he wants verification. He wants him to write like a certified check or to establish that the funds are in place. And Colonel Archie, this will come into play later in the episode for sure. Colonel Archie's like, no. All these guys around here in the club, they'll vouch for my net worth or whatever, that I'm good for the money.
Right, and this is where he says, well, my wife shops at Tiffany's like other shops at supermarkets.
Exactly. I wrote that down too, that quote. And we come to find out that Tennyson, like you said, he might have a gambling problem. That's unclear. But he definitely has a wife that he loves very dearly, and he can't say no to her, and she's basically spending him into the poorhouse at this point.
And he's asking, hey, where's all this going to take place? Because we have to, and it's going to be taken in this club down in like the basement of the old game room, I think they said. Mm-hmm. So, and he's like, look, anybody can come in and check on me. Anybody come talk to me. Which is very interesting because if you look at that, I don't think there was really a bathroom in that glass house or whatever. So.
Didn't see that, yeah. He's supposed to hold it for a whole year.
Hey, if they can not have any bodily functions for 100 years in last episode,
right?
What's a year for this?
So this is where he's asking for a certified check or a photo stat of the funds. He says, and the Colonel replies, this isn't a fish market or a pawn shop. Like, I'm good, basically, I'm good for the money.
He's basically getting upset.
Yeah, that he would even ask such a thing. And then after the bet is agreed to, the conversation concludes. Then the next scene we come to is, did you have something in closing with that? Okay. We fade out, and we come to the construction of the glass domain.
Right. A little bit about that. The guy that was in charge of the set, I think his name was George Clemens, if I remember right. He was worried about how he was going to shoot this because of the reflections of the glass cell. Mm-hmm. But come to find out, he only had to take out 2 panes of glass to get all those shots.
Oh, really?
But I think this is a point where we need to talk about what happened with Colonel Archie Taylor in real life, and this is why I think this episode is fantastically done. Because the day one shooting went fine, they did the opening and closing scenes, and then they broke for the weekend. Mm-hmm. Well, on day 2, Mr. Franco Tonnet did not show up. Everyone was supposed to be there by 6 a.m., but by 10 a.m. he still hadn't shown up, so they had to get a hold of his agent. He was in a clinic, but the stories differ as to why he was there. The first one, Tone tells Liam Sullivan, he had been at a party and tried to pick a flower from a bush for his date and had fallen down a hillside and landed on a driveway of the house next door. All right. Well, I mean, is that a believable story? I don't know. I ain't been to Hollywood, so we'll say maybe. Number 2, Serling, which I think I trust Serling, said that Tone approached a girl in a restaurant parking lot and her boyfriend took offense.
Oh.
Either way, his face had been scraped up. They didn't have time to recast, and they couldn't recast, so they decided to shoot the cage scenes with the other side of his face only. So the left side of his face is what's jacked up.
Yeah.
Since the opening and closing had showed his full face. And I think this next scene, these scenes right here is what's awesome, because if you see, you got Alfred peering around the corner where it looks like kind of like the Phantom of the Opera, where it's only half of his face is in shadow and his right side of his face is in the light. I think that this accident, whatever the true story is that happened, I think it worked to the advantage of the episode.
I think it enhanced it.
It made him look sly. It made him look predatory. And the critics actually complimented him on the effort, which I think was great. So that's a little bit. That's why if you watch this episode it just brought something more to the episode for me. It did.
For sure. So, yeah, it might have, like we talked off air here, that it might have been like a blessing in disguise, really, because it ended up enhancing the episode for sure. So let's talk about inside the glass living quarters a little bit. There, probably a large bulk of the episode is shot in there, and that's amazing. I didn't know about the panes of glass either. Like that's a pretty. That worked out that way. I could see how that would be a reflection issue. But maybe the angles, they just took out the panes for a couple different angles that he needed inside. But as he's living in the story itself, Taylor is tempted with money by, Taylor is tempting Tennyson with the money, basically saying, hey, what are you doing? There are several passing shots where the months are rolling by, like June, July, and August, and
that was well done too.
Yeah, absolutely. The effect of time passing, and he's doing different activities like playing cards or trying to do things. That's Tennyson's trying to do things to pass the time, but all the while, again, Taylor is tempting him with money to just tap out. He starts in with rumors about his wife.
Right. I think he starts off with like $1,000. He's like, look, I'll give you $1,000 and you can leave right now.
Yeah.
I think he's becoming scared. Like, I can't believe he's made it this long.
Yeah, he couldn't believe he made it 9 weeks at first when Franklin is taking him his plate of food.
And, I don't know if you caught that. The first time you see him and Archie comes down and Franklin's down there, and he asked him, he said, well, how is he doing? He said, this is your first clue. He says, I wrote it down right here. He said, well, he wasn't eating well till last week. He said, but now, he's doing fine. Yeah. So we'll say that Twilight Zone twist for a little bit later. But that, if you're paying attention, that was the first major clue.
Yeah, I noticed that when I rewatched it, maybe the second or third time, that line is a definite clue. So Taylor, he just shows himself to be super not honorable, if you will, slimy. Rumors about his wife with, why hasn't your wife come to visit you? You've been in here all this time. And, think about what it's doing to her, and sort of trying to tempt him to release from the bet. And said, I think there are rumors that, your wife was seen getting into a European sports car and all these things is piling as the days go. Yeah, other men, like, what do you think she's doing right now? And Archie says in the end, I think towards the end, he says, if you leave now, you might be able to save your marriage.
Yep.
And it's just tearing Tennyson up, you can tell, like, he's just beside himself. And so the days and the months and the years go by, and then the scene changes for the end of the episode. We go back to the main room of the club, and we discover that it's the last day of the bet. And I think what's the lawyer? Alfred, the lawyer. I mean, he's lost all. Oh yeah, he says respect.
He says, look, he's like, there's 2 minutes to go. He's like, because before this, he's asked him, I think it was like around the 6-month mark, 3-month mark. He says, you do have this money, right? Because he's going to make it.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa, what do you mean? Of course I've got it. Yeah. But you can see this now. There's like 2 minutes to go.
Right.
And Alfred tells him, he says, look, the rumors have ruined you. They said that nobody has honor for you anymore. Mm-hmm. So this is where the timer's up, ding, and Alice strolls with confidence.
Yeah,
Tennyson.
All the men are gathered there in the main room of the club, just like before in the opening scenes, and they're waiting.
They're all applauding and everything when he comes out.
And Alfred's parting kind of word to the colonel is Archie. He puts a premium on honor, but he's not acting like an honorable man.
Right.
And then, like you said, Tennyson emerges to collect. But there seems to be some confusion as we go along as to why he doesn't speak, but he only holds out his hand.
Right, like he wants the check.
Yeah, when he emerges from the glass living quarters or whatever. And so he...
And not Alfred, Archie's like, look, man, you can speak now.
Right.
And because this is where he said, look, he's like, I'm a fraud. I don't have any money. I would have had to beg to get the $5,000 I offered you back when I was there.
Yeah.
And he says, don't worry. He's like, I'll resign my position here at the club. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you can tell on the look of Tennyson's face that he is visibly upset. And he pulls out a piece of paper and a
great piece
pen.
Of acting too, because he can't speak and it's all on his facial expression. Right. Everything.
And he pulls out the door like, why is he doing that? Why he can say, and he pulls out and he hands it to, I believe he hands it to Archie, right? Or does he hand it to, or not Archie? Archie. Yeah. It's Archie or Alfred he hands it to. Yeah.
He hands we discover, just like you said, that Taylor's broke and he's welching on the bet, while Tennyson. This is a double Twilight Zone twist. We come to discover that he is cheated, and it's written down on that note, by severing the nerves in his vocal cords so as not to be able to speak, thereby ensuring that he would win the bet.
Right.
And if you notice too, he's wearing a little clue. You don't notice it at first, but he's wearing like an ascot or a little scarf.
It might be a Scooby-Doo, Fred and Scooby-Doo.
The whole time.
Right.
So as not to reveal this big scar that's right underneath his, or right above, his Adam's apple where he's had surgery.
And you've seen it the whole episode. He's had it on the entire time.
Yeah. Great Twilight Zone twist in this one. And the facial expressions here, we're at the point
and he's crying, dude,
it just goes from completely high, he's smiling and elated that he's made it, and he sticks out his hand to, collect the money, and then his face just drops as he is coming to the realization that there's no way he's going to get
I would not be able to keep my part of the bargain, this note says. So he said, 1 year ago, I had the nerves to my vocal cords severed, and this is where he pulls the scarf off.
Reveal, yeah. And everyone in the room is stunned, standing around, and then we fade out in the end of the episode.
Poor Jamie Tennyson. He's lost twice in this episode.
Yep.
He might have lost more than that because he probably lost his wife too.
Yeah.
But he lost the money that he was the bet, and he lost his vocal cords for the rest of his life.
I know.
But I think the bigger reveal here is that you see how bad Archie really is. He is the true monster of this episode. Mm-hmm. And for somebody, and I thought it was very interesting that for somebody that was mad at Tennyson for talking all the time, he sure didn't hold back when he was trying to get him out of the cage. He was down there talking the entire time to him, trying to egg him out of there. Yeah. So basically the roles were reversed, and I think that was very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, just a few trivia points here, and we can discuss our likes and dislikes and questions and observations. But the plot of a man accepting a bet that he could remain isolated or being unable to speak rather than having no direct human contact for a year, and the desperation of the one waiting for the bet to finish, was inspired by Anton Chekhov's short story called The Bet. So the origins of this particular episode are derived from that story. This is one of only, I thought this was interesting, one of only 4 Twilight Zones episodes that notably contain no science fiction or fantasy elements. When you think about it, it's kind of interesting. The entire episode was filmed on Stage 3 at Hal Roach Studios. To create the interior of the men's club, with prop rentals, newspapers, plants, and other materials, Cayuga was billed a total cost of $330. Wow, the whole set for this episode was $330. The cave door in the last episode was $330 by itself. That's kind of interesting. The solarium where Tennyson was incarcerated for 12 months came in at a cost of $1,309 to construct. There isn't a whole lot of trivia with this episode. I do have some quotes from some of the actors. Liam Sullivan, who played Tennyson, he said this about Rod. Rod was a very quiet fellow on the set, recalled Sullivan for author Mark Phillips. He let the director take over in most things. He was a terrific writer, and after that experience, I was a Twilight Zone fan. The long speech that I had in the opening sequence was 3 pages. So if we go back to the very beginning, when Tennyson is rambling on and talking about all his deals, that goes on for quite a few minutes. So that sequence was 3 pages long. The day of shooting, Rod came up and asked me if I could memorize an additional page of dialogue on the spot. I was doing so well, he wanted to lengthen the scene. I said if he could write it that fast, I could memorize it. He went off into a corner and started scribbling. He handed me the sheets off of his notepad. I picked a corner and started memorizing. He was very pleased with the results. I thought that was pretty cool that Rod could just on the spot could go into a corner and scribble, an additional page of dialogue for him, and also that he could memorize.
I'm more impressed for the memorization.
Yeah. So that's really all I have as far as trivia is concerned. Not a whole lot with this episode.
All right, Eric, this just popped into my head, and I think I'm going to start adding it to every Twilight Zone episode we do. Okay? So at the end of the episode, I'm going to ask you if you could keep or get one piece of prop from this episode, what would you take to add to your Twilight Zone collection?
Okay. For this episode, boy, I don't know.
You taking the scarf?
That's what instantly came to my mind. But yeah, that'd probably be one of the biggest prop pieces that you would
either
want
that or either the note that
notepad.
Well, the notepad, or even the note that he gave at the beginning.
Yeah.
One of those three, I would say. So I think that's a pretty cool little thing that we can start throwing in the episodes.
So most coveted prop from each episode. Okay. We already talked about this off the top. What's the longest you've ever gone without speaking? You never really answered. How long do you think you've ever gone? More than an hour?
Oh, yeah.
2 hours?
Easily.
I think I went about half a day, 3/4 of a day.
Probably, including sleep.
Oh, well, yeah.
36 hours, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
I didn't factor in sleep.
And then, hypothetically. Hypothetically, the person in the fifth dimension probably realized, might as well just go ahead and get it over with. Come to your senses.
Yeah. Okay. Then I looked this up. This jogged my mind. But what's the longest amount of time that someone has spent in solitary confinement? I thought about that. And the answer, according to what I found, was almost 44 years. This man, Albert Woodfox, he was in a 6 by 9 foot cell in Louisiana State Penitentiary for almost 44 years.
And that reminds me of when we did our last live show at the Haunted Jail or whatever in Boone County. They had a solitary confinement room, and it really is that small and cramped.
It would make you crazy. There's no way, I know that about myself, there's no way I could spend 1 year in solitary confinement, let alone almost 44 years. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to pursue. This is a great Twilight Zone double twist. I thought it was excellent. First time I saw it, it was excellent. It's excellent this time. And this is just a biblical reference. I thought this came to my mind. No man can tame the tongue. It's a restless evil full of deadly poison. Mm-hmm. And you see that on both sides of the equation, as you talked about. Both the Colonel and Tennyson, their tongues just got them in all kinds of trouble. And I think also, just observing the episode, I think you could make the argument that both were obnoxious braggarts. Again, just going off of your thought, like the tables kind of flipped. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Colonel sees a reflection in the mirror of himself, and that's why he can't stand Tennyson, because deep down he knows he wants to believe that he's more noble, that he's a better bred, and that he's more honorable than Tennyson. But really, at the end of the day, he's not. So I thought that was a great connection too. And one reviewer that I read, I think it was on IMDb, he titled his review "The Bluff and the Cheater." So I thought that was a good summary of the episode. I think it was a great episode. Personally, it was a lot better than the last episode. I know we beat to death the Rip Van Winkle caper. I think this one comes in at a strong 8, just on the double twist alone. But Jimbo, what do you think?
Well, the last time that we had a double twist that I can remember, I believe it was a stop at Willoughby.
Yeah,
if I remember right, and I do believe that was our 1 and 2. Of the
top episode of the
season 1, that and Mirror Image, I do believe that those are the 2. So just for that fact alone, it's definitely coming out at 8, maybe a 9, because it was so great. The whole, once you dig in and you find out that Archie had that issue with his face getting scraped up, and how he comes down those stairs and how he's peeking around the corners with those shadows on his face, and just how, if you notice, when they have you ever been to a, let's say like a bank teller or even a gas station late at night, and they have that little intercom thing they push and you're talking through. They have this in this for this cell for him to talk to people. And if you notice while you're watching that too, he's sitting there on the side talking to him with just the right side of his face again, not the left side. So it is kind of like talking out of the side of his mouth, because you can tell it's kind of sly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those shots were excellently done.
So for me, I think that is just bar none excellent. I think I'm going to push it up to a 9. I think I will.
I think I'll go to an 8.5.
And I really think that Archie, dude, you just love to hate him. I mean, he was just perfect in that.
Yeah, he almost was the temptation, that segment, in the episode just made you, it was eerie.
Well acted.
Devilish, almost.
And Jamie did excellent with his facial expressions, because he didn't really have a lot of dialogue after halfway through the episode. You know what I mean? So
well done. Definitely
very well done. So if you'd like to follow us, we are the Tragedy of Cinema Podcast on Facebook, all the social medias. If you'd like to reach out to us, we are the Tragedy of Cinema at gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to leave us a review on Apple iTunes, Spotify, wherever, we will read it on the air, either on this or the main feed.
Tell me how bad I do on these. Definitely.
Well, we've already lost half our listenership because you said you hated the Marvel Universe, so...
feel free. Drop me a line and tell me how wrong.
Message him on
disgusting
Facebook. I am. But we all know that the main superheroes are Batman and Superman, so I put Superman number 1, Batman number 2. I think Batman has the greatest villains of all time: Joker, Riddler, Penguin.
We'll save that for another.
I was going to say, we can go a real talk or something. So, with that being said, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And cut.
Mr. Jamie Tennyson, who almost won a bet, but who discovered somewhat belatedly that gambling can be a most unproductive pursuit, even with loaded dice, marked cards, or, as in his case, some severed vocal cords. For somewhere beyond him, a wheel was turned, and his number came up black 13. If you don't believe it, ask the croupier, the very special one who handled roulette, in the Twilight Zone.